Hi guys, Jem here from Fundamental Sports and Fitness, and for our Chit Chat Thursday today we're going to look at what to do and how to train now your race has been postponed. So it's really thinking about the race season as a whole. So we've kind of got to look at it from this point now to, I'm thinking, at least the summer. You're looking at all the races either being cancelled, postponed, rearranged for the latter half of the year. So that September to December is when I'm thinking most races are going to be rearranged for. When you're hearing about London marathons being put in for October, and other races going on and ahead from that point. From an obstacle point of view, I know a lot, certainly up until July, June, July point, have paused where their race calendar is setting in for it all. But so far it seems like the summer lot are all happening. So yeah, you're looking potentially at the earliest being August, but I think the majority are going to be September going forward. So it's still having that plan and that routine within your week, your months that are going on ahead. But for the moment, I'm still trying to think short term. Let's get through each week as we're training. Maybe still have that long term goal ahead, but just try and focus on what you can control at the moment. So training cycles, if you've read a couple of the magazine articles I've done previously and some of the blogs that I've written, you'll already know a bit about what training cycles are and how to implement them within your normal routines. But basically you have a macro cycle, which is looking at the entire year as a whole. You then have your mesocycle that is breaking it down more on like a month by month basis. So you can focus on when races are happening through the year, when you might be increasing your mileage, decreasing your mileage, whether you'll be in an endurance phase of training or a strength phase of training, or even just a recovery element to it all. And then you have your microcycle, so looking at what your weekly training is looking at, even to the point of you know exactly what you're doing each day of the week as well. As I say, at the moment, you'll probably find, whereas previously the winter is where you'd be doing your recovery training, your general sort of mileage maintenance ticking over side of things, that's where your year will have shifted. And you'll find you'll be doing more of that sort of general maintenance work now, whilst you're keeping safe, doing your hours exercise out of the house. And then that winter element of your training, so that September to December side of things, that's when we can then start to push the mileage a little bit more. But I say, at the moment, because there's a lot of uncertainty around, it's tricky to say when you should then be building your mileage up. But at the moment, I would say don't worry about that type of thing. So at the moment, focus on keeping that base level of fitness. Drop your mileage right down. And this is where it's really tricky because so many spring marathons and big events were happening. Everybody's training was sort of reaching the peak. People's A races were coming in, and you were really then looking for that element of competition. So where mileage and training intensities would have been peaking, now it's really just bringing everything right back. Your body won't be able to sustain that high level of training for the next 6 months. It's just not possible. And that's where those training cycles become really important to you. So scale your training right back. Look at keeping that base level of fitness. So from a running point of view, stick to a steady 5 or 10k. It doesn't need to be anything more than that. And to an extent, you want to be bringing it even lower. So you're just generally ticking over with your body. Focus more on an endurance-based training if you're doing your resistance work. And look at sort of injury prevention or injury recovery. So make sure you've got a good foam rolling plan going on. You've got that mobility training happening. any areas of weakness that you have, you can then focus on those as well. So it really is just looking at keeping your body ticking over during all of this. And then hopefully, I'm planning on it that the summer is when hopefully the lockdown will be ending. We'll be able to get out a little bit more. Races will be happening. That's when you can then look to build your mileage back up again. Introduce some interval training, get that speed play happening again, and you'd then be able to introduce and build up more of the strength-based element to your training. And then when it's coming into that autumn, so that's September, October, that's when you can then get back to your usual race mileage, if that's when races are happening again. And this is where it is that massive uncertainty and ifs and buts to everything, which is where I say, try and focus on that weekly element to it, because you can control what's going on there. Now, for me, from my weekly point of view, we're trying to get out for sort of a walk every day. Now, because we've got the boys with us, we've got Wilfin the carrier, Monty's walking or scooting, depending on where we're going. We're really lucky in that we've got some fields around near us, so we can go out into those. Which means for our walk, we're usually 40 minutes, an hour. And when you've got Wilf on your back of another 20 odd kilos, it certainly takes its toll, but you feel like you've had a good workout within there. So when we're then getting home, once we've done all the work, and as it goes back to quarantining with kids is completely different to quarantining without. So it's when you try and get that moment to yourself, which are always very rare amongst the chaos that is happening. That's when we're looking at trying to do a couple of resistance sessions, getting some of the weights out, the TRX and resistance bands. And also then an element of yoga. Now, our weeks, although we like to have that bit of structure of knowing that we are going for a walk every day, I still like to try and get in at least 3 resistance sessions, 1 yoga session a week, maybe 2. For me, that's really good. And I kind of want to say much more of a routine now that I'm at home or forced at home, rather than when I was at the studio and in between clients trying to squeeze things in. But if you haven't got kids and it isn't quite as crazy, or you are somebody that likes a routine and likes to know what you could do, then a good suggestion would be getting in sort of 2 runs a week. So you're dropping that right back, focusing on that 40 minutes to an hour if you can do, and then 1 walk a week. So again, and you're changing the environment that you're running in, you're walking in. So again, it's keeping that variety in there if you're able to. So that's sort of three big things that you're there pushing your body for. I'll then look to try and get in 2 to 3 resistance sessions. Okay, so that's either your body weight training, you're using the kettlebells, your TRX, dumbbells, whatever you can get your hands on. I told you about trying to get clients to be as inventive as possible. So we've had planks of wood being used, we've had water bottles filled up with sand, we've had textbooks, we've had rucksacks being filled with different things. So it's just different ways to incorporate adding in any weight to your sessions, and there are plenty of good body weight exercises out there as well. But just try and add in as much variety, and it's just a question of holding weights in different places as well. So the rucksack, you've got it on your back. You could hold it around your front. You could sumo squat with it if you're holding it by the handle at the top. But yeah, use a variety of different things. So you've got 2 to 3 resistance things going on. So we've got your 2 runs and a walk, so that's probably 3 things. You've got your 2 or 3 resistance things, so we've got maybe 5 or 6 elements to your training going on through the week. And then get in a yoga session, a stretching based session, which takes you to your 6, potentially 7 sessions during the week. Now, for that is a great style of maintenance training, and from that resistance point you can push it as much as you want to during those sessions, but what again I would say is you're wanting to keep your immune system high. That is what is going to be fighting off any infections. you've got to remember that any type of exercise, any type of running you're doing, you're going to be pushing your body a lot further than sometimes it needs to be, and it's got to have an element of recovery in there. So if you're used to doing lots of training, you're absolutely fine keeping that level higher or just scaling it back a little bit. But don't use this point that if you were running 5Ks and you think, oh yeah, that's great, I've got loads of time on my hands now, I can push it, I can do a little bit more, or I've got the time on my hands, I can now train twice a day. Doing all things like that is going to be pushing your body's immune system, and instead of focusing on repairing and keeping yourself healthy, it's going to be shifting to focusing on having to repair the muscles that you've been working on. So yeah, keep a nice base level of fitness, keep your immune system high, stress levels low. All of those things are going to help keep you physically fit, mentally fit, and as I say, links back to that when a race is going to be happening, what to do. It is keeping yourself physically and mentally fit. So keep yourself and your body ticking over for the time being. Maybe try some different training that you're not usually used to. I say I introduced more yoga into my training sessions, and suddenly found how inflexible I am. But I'm hoping by the time, I say, if we come out of lockdown, I will be, I don't want to say an expert yoga person, but hopefully slightly more bendy than I was, which might then link into less injuries, less shoulder problems, less hip problems, which in the grand scheme of things is going to be really, really good. So yeah, let me know what you guys are doing and how you're training and what things you're doing instead. Now everything's been postponed, or what races you are now looking forward to in that latter half of the year. I was going to say, I'd kind of only planned my race calendar, say, up until August. I've got one in September at the moment, which hopefully will still be going ahead. But yeah, I think I'll be having a look to see what's coming out in October, November, and probably plan my races for then, rather than, say, my summer racing, which is what I always prefer, of those sort of like April, May up to August time. So yeah, have a look at what races you've got coming up. Keep yourself fit, keep yourself healthy. Look at it on that weekly basis. So again, plan your weeks of those couple of runs, couple of resistance sessions, your stretching one, and that will split your week up quite nicely. But yeah, let me know how you're getting on, guys. Keep to that nice base element of fitness and don't push yourself too hard during these times. I will see you guys all soon, and let me know how you're getting on.